I have nothing to sell, I am walking west, the storm is bad, I want to sleep in your barn just tonight. The rain fell in sheets. It hit the asphalt hard. It washed the oil into the ditch. I was walking on the shoulder of Route 9. My boots were *Field Trek leather. The soles were worn smooth on the outside edge. Water leaked in through the left toe. Lightning flashed. I saw the wooden sign. The white paint was mostly gone. It read, Miller's Apples *. Past the sign was a farmhouse. The porch roof sagged in the middle. Next to it was a tractor barn. The corrugated tin roof was brown with rust. I walked up the dirt driveway. The mud sucked at my boots. I knocked on the heavy wooden door of the farmhouse. No answer. I knocked again, harder. The door pulled open. An old woman stood in the frame. She wore a faded red flannel shirt. Her silver hair was pulled tight. She held a heavy iron lantern in her right hand. The glass was black with soot. She held a rusted fireplace poker in her left. I need nothing, she said. Her voice was like dry gravel. I have nothing to sell, I said. I am walking west. The storm is bad. I want to sleep in the tractor barn just tonight. She looked at my boots. She looked at the water dripping from my canvas jacket. She did not lower the iron poker. There is dry straw in the third stall, she said. Do not light a match. Leave at first light. She shut the door. The deadbolt slid heavily into place. Clack. I went to the barn. I found the straw. I sat down in the dark. My name is Elias. I am 40 years old. I am an agricultural scientist, or I was. I opened my canvas backpack. Inside was a plastic ID badge. The lanyard was cut. The plastic was snapped in half. It belonged to Apex Agri Corp *, the largest farming conglomerate on the coast. Next to the badge was a folded letter. The paper was thick. It had 3 red stamps on it, TERMINATD, void, BLACKLISTD. Under the letter was a metal lockbox. Inside was exactly *22, 50 **, 2 crumpled $10 bills, 10 quarters. I studied soil. I studied roots. I found out that Apex Agri Corp *''s new chemical spray was destroying the topsoil. It killed the microbes. It left the ground sterile for a decade. I wrote a paper. I put the data on the table. They fired me. They took my lab. They sent the letter to every university and corporate farm in the country. I put the broken plastic badge back in the bag. I listened to the rain hit the tin roof. I went asleep. Morning came. The storm broke. Sunlight cut through the gaps in the barn walls. I walked outside. I looked at the orchard. There were 400 apple trees. They were dying. The leaves were curled tight. They were covered in a thick ash-like powder. The bark was splitting. Black sap leaked down the trunks. A black SUV drove up the mud driveway. The tires were clean. Titan Tread * tires. A man stepped out. He wore a gray suit, a blue silk tie. He stepped carefully to avoid the mud. He held a leather clipboard. The old woman came out onto the porch. She did not hold the lantern. She held a mug of black coffee. Martha, the man in the suit said, the offer drops tomorrow. The land is dead. The trees are rotting. The bank takes it in 30 days anyway. Sign the paper. Martha looked at the man. She looked at the dying trees. She looked at the ceramic mug in her hands. 40 cents on the dollar, Martha said, for land my grandfather cleared. It's just dirt now, Martha, the man said. I have the pen right here. I walked over to the nearest tree. I pulled a curled leaf from a low branch. I crushed it between my thumb and forefinger. It turned to black dust. I smelled the bark. It smelled like fermented iron and wet chalk. It was the * ashvane * blight, a rare fungal rot. It suffocated the roots. I walked over to the porch. I stood between the gray suit and the old woman. The dirt is fine, I said. The man in the suit looked at me. He looked at my worn boots. He laughed, a short, flat sound. I looked at Martha. It is ash vein asterisk blight. It lives in the topsoil. It climbs the bark when it rains. Corporate spray won't kill it. It feeds on the copper in the spray. Martha narrowed her eyes. Who are you? I am a man with asterisk 22, 50 asterisk, I said, and I know how to fix this. The man in the suit tapped his leather clipboard. She's bankrupt. You're a drifter. I'll be back on Friday. Have the bags packed. He got in the black SUV. He drove away. I looked at Martha. Give me a room. Give me 3 meals a day. Let me use the tractor. I will save the trees. She looked at the black dust on my fingers. She nodded. The work began. The tractor was a 1978 Massey Ferguson. The red paint was gone. Brown rust ate the wheel wells. I fixed the engine with a wrench and a roll of duct tape. I did not use chemicals. I went to the woods behind the farm. I dug up wild mushroom spores, white mycelium. I gathered crushed limestone from the creek bed. I burned pine needles to make white ash. I put it all in a rusted steel drum. I added water. I let it ferment for 10 days. It smelled like rotting leaves and raw earth. I filled a brass hand pump sprayer. I walked the lines, 400 trees. I sprayed the roots. I coated the split bark. The brass handle dug into my palm. By day 4, blisters formed. By day 6, the blisters popped. Yellow fluid ran down the wood of the handle. I taped my hands with white athletic tape. I kept pumping. Martha watched from the porch. She did not speak. She brought out a tin plate at noon, sliced salted ham, thick bread, a glass of cold water. I ate. I went back to the trees. 3 months passed. Summer came. The air grew thick. Martha and I sat on the porch. We drank cheap sun-roast coffee from chipped ceramic mugs. The hummingbirds buzzed near the feeder. We watched the trees. The black sap stopped running. The splits in the bark hardened into gray scars. Then the leaves changed. The ash powder fell away in the wind. Green pushed through, deep, heavy green. By late August the blossoms came, small white flowers, hundreds of thousands of them. They fell like snow across the dirt. Then the fruit formed. They were not red apples. They were not green. They were pale gold. They had faint red stripes near the stem. They grew large. They pulled the branches down with their weight. Martha walked out into the rows. She touched a golden apple. Her thick fingers traced the red stripes. Golden heirlooms, she whispered. My grandfather planted these. The seeds lay dormant for 60 years. The blight killed the weaker trees. It left these. October, the air was crisp. The wooden crates were piled high in the barn. 300 crates, filled with heavy gold apples. The smell of sweet cider filled the air. A silver transport truck backed up to the barn. The driver loaded the crates. He handed Martha a check. The paper was heavy. The number printed on it was exactly $145,000. The black SUV pulled up the driveway. The man in the gray suit stepped out. He carried his leather clipboard. He looked at the silver transport truck. He looked at the golden apples. His mouth opened. No sound came out. I walked over to him. I was wearing a new canvas jacket. I pulled an apple from a crate. I tossed it to him. He caught it against his chest. Taste it, I said. He bit into it. The skin snapped loudly. The juice ran down his chin. It dripped onto his blue silk tie. He did not wipe it away. The farm is not for sale, Martha said from the porch. She held the heavy check in her hand. The man dropped the apple in the mud. He got back in his SUV. He backed out fast. A reporter from the State Agricultural Journal came the next day. He took pictures of the trees. He took pictures of the soil. He took a picture of me. He wrote down my name. He wrote down the natural cure. 2 weeks later, an envelope arrived. It had the seal of the state university. Inside was a contract, a brass key for a new lab, A grant for exactly asterisk 250,000 asterisk. I held the brass key. It was heavy. It was cold. I looked at the orchard. The leaves were turning brown for the winter. The ground was healthy. I put the key in my pocket. I went to the barn. I started the rusted Massey tractor. There was winter mulch to lay down.